Happy Friday and welcome to today's episode of Friday Tech Bites. I've got one of the best on my team on with me, Michael Cade. Good day. How are you?
Good day. All good. All good.
So he only gave me 3 or 4 words, but you can tell he's in the UK. Michael's based in, I guess, mid-southern UK. I don't know. It's too far from London to call it London. He flies out of there, though. That's another
Yeah.
discussion. Michael's based in the UK. I'm in Ohio. We've got a producer in Romania, a producer in the ATL, but we want to know where you're from. So drop in the stream your US state or your country, and we will light up the application. So hopefully we can get some new ones. I see some South Africa. I see some Wisconsin already coming in early. Let us know where you're from because we love hearing that engagement and such. So welcome, everyone. So, Michael, topic du jour, 90 days of DevOps. Now, we're going to walk everyone through that here in a second. But maybe before we get into that, tell the story of the project you kind of took under your wings, I guess it was about 8 months ago or so.
Nearly a year ago, boss.
Wow.
But yeah, so I basically, part of the product strategy group reporting into Rick, being an overarching technologist to everything that we do at Veeam across the whole stack. There's an area where we could be involved more from a cloud native Kubernetes data protection standpoint. We acquired Kasten back in October 2020, and to have involvement in that space, in that community. So I kind of got parachuted in. I think it was called Project Parachute, or I can't remember.
Paratrooper.
There you go. Project Paratrooper. But so basically it was to go and live and breathe that world, the DevOps focused personnel, kind of what I believe is the sysadmin of tomorrow, or the evolution of the sysadmin today, and a progressive learning journey for a lot of people that we traditionally speak to, right, in the Veeam world, where they're going to be focused on Kubernetes, cloud native, and everything that goes alongside that, including data protection. So I dived headfirst into that world, starting to fill a lot of the gaps. I've done a lot of automation and the like from a virtualization standpoint, and even cloud, using things like Terraform and infrastructure as code. But it felt like I was I think the cheese is called Gouda, where it's got a load of holes in, right? So I felt a bit like that, where there's loads of holes in my armory when it comes to talking about DevOps and cloud native, Kubernetes involved in that, containerization. So yeah, I'll let Rick go over that analogy, and then we'll go.
Yeah, different cheese. We call it Swiss cheese, but if I'm in Switzerland,
Swiss cheese works, right?
I don't know. What do you call it in the UK? Do you call that Swiss cheese?
Yeah, we have Swiss cheese as well. But I thought like Gouda was the holy cheese.
Oh, Gouda's a good one. Gouda's a good melter too, by the way. But now I'm getting hungry. So yeah, great kind of intro to the mission. This assignment, and we look at what we have in the full portfolio set with Kasten K10 by Veeam, some integrations with the other Veeam products, but then also a great, I don't want to use the word island, but standalone technology set for this cloud native apps world. So if you're going to tell a story, Michael, of 90 days of DevOps to this type of audience, now you've like you said, you've gone into a new group and a new world and different people, some familiar faces. I mean, there's some people that you and I have known over the years that have made this transition as well, but there's a different way of sharing information. And what's your, like, right off the bat, first choice of a place to share this information?
Yeah, so I think, I have a lot of people in our space have, is our own blog. Like, and we've always used, I use vzilla.co.uk to throw my content out, but actually the way I wanted to kind of drink my own champagne and use a lot of my learning in and around GitHub. So everything could be open. One of the big premises of this whole project is around learning in public, sharing what you're learning. It's one thing to go and learn it, but and for those that have potentially stumbled across this, seen this, you'll see that things don't always go right. And I make a point of saying this didn't go right, and this is how I fixed it. But it being on GitHub, the amount of interaction that I've had with the the community with pull requests and people fixing my bad grammar and bad spelling has been brilliant, right? So version control and having that centralized repository with all of this information that anyone could go and take a copy of that, fork that copy, and go and live and breathe their own 90 days of DevOps as well.
Wow, that's crazy. And I do think GitHub is the right place and the right currency for that. When I think about how you would go about and prepare that, did you write an outline, or is it still on the whiteboard behind you, or did you go in not knowing how the story would end?
So my idea around this started with a blog post that's on Kasten.io, and it says, so you want to learn DevOps, and there's 12 or 13 different like headers in there and some of the things you'll see in here. And that was kind of the introduction to this. I wasn't brave enough back in October to go and take and embark on 90 days or 90 posts of this, plus all the work that has to go into the behind the scenes. But for some reason, on the 31st of December, I went, you know what would be a really good idea? The 1st of January to the 31st of March is exactly 90 days. And I've done like personal challenges around that. And I thought, you know what, let's do it. And yeah, the first 10 is something. And then it's a bit like a New Year's resolution, right? You have to continue it and build it into your routine.
Indeed. So the producers just gave me a note that the map is ready. So before we jump into the other area, we got Canada representing the Great North. We've got Arizona, more Georgia. We've also got Wisconsin. Like I creeped one of the attendees. Let's go down south. Or nope, Europe works. We'll go to Europe. We got still the UK. We've got France, Turkey, Slovakia, Germany, Sweden, Ukraine, Georgia, the country, Georgia. Awesome. And then let's go into South America. We've got Brazil and Colombia. Welcome. And let's go into the Asia, Middle East and such. And I had it wrong, Claude. I said South Africa. You've been in Dubai for like 4 years. I'm sorry, mate. Got that wrong. But we got Dubai, Pakistan, Malaysia, India, and Iran. And down south, we've also got a couple others. We got Malaysia sneaking in. Which side are we on? Are we on the peninsular Malaysia or the island Malaysia? We want to know. Let us know. All right, let's go over to the lab and let's take a look at GitHub, right? So like we said, Michael, this is the right place to start. And, we'll start right away. This is Michael's own personal GitHub. So it's in the Michael Cade world of GitHub. And Michael, right off the bat, what do you see here? What am I looking at here?
So first and foremost, this README file gives us the contents. And if Rick scrolls down, you're going to get to see all of those sections. But all of this part is like all of the files that build up what we're talking about. So I've put in, and a lot of this happened after the fact, but this is really the bones of the repository. So first off, it's going to talk about what it is, who and what we're going to cover. So a foundational knowledge of DevOps is really what we're aiming for. It talks about to begin with, we're talking about like the high level, what is DevOps, and kind of dispelling some myths and talking about the process and principles of DevOps in general, that you probably won't go out and find a DevOps engineer role. You're probably still going to be a sysadmin, but you're going to adopt some of those processes and principles. And then we get into other areas of DevOps or some of the focus and process around that.
It just these titles are point on. I really like it. So and we'll go through a little bit of this in some more detail. And right off the bat, at least at this README here, first of all, I like this cool logo. Did you make that?
I kind of got someone to do it for me. I paid the money for it. But okay. I'm not that creative.
No, definitely not. I've
but the idea around it was, obviously there's a lot of learning in public, so you've got your academia hat on there. There's obviously a lot about cloud. It's not all about like Kubernetes or the containerization. Like we can still do DevOps when it comes to virtualization, and we can still do it in the physical world and application world. Like, so it's not just, you're not doing DevOps if you're not in the new Kubernetes, like the next wave of infrastructure. So it features some cloud. It features some dots in there, and if you're familiar with like Git and how workflows work, and there's a lot of you should be able to tell what it's getting at from just the logo.
And the other thing I'll highlight is one of the things I love about GitHub is that you can actually see who the other experts are. So I'm looking here, and that's Dean St. DLE. That's one of the vanguards. He's point on in this space. I don't know these other two, but you can just follow the trail of the code sometimes to see who some of these additional experts are, right? And then, actually, mate, I just noticed something's wrong with this picture. What is it?
Oh, yeah. You should be starring this up in the top exactly. right corner, Rick.
I mean,
it's grown pretty well,
years.
But even my boss isn't starring this. So one of the things around stars, and this is the biggest part of this whole project for me, is that I thought, I'm just going to learn in public. This is going to get 1 or 2 stars. Probably, like I thought my boss might star it pretty early on from reading it. But like I didn't think it was going to get anywhere, but actually the biggest accountability of it was getting all of those stars. It's like, I've got to finish it now. Like that was a big thing.
Indeed. So pick one here. What? Give me one that we can walk through from any of the sections here, kind of in this first half. Let's kind of dissect one of them.
So I think Linux basics is probably a good one to dive into, because it doesn't matter whether you're in the journey around cloud native and Kubernetes. Linux is a fundamental requirement, whether you're a sysadmin today or you want to be, and you're aspiring to be that. So what I do with each of the sections is really highlight, or what is the big picture? Why are you telling me to learn Linux as a fundamental to DevOps? And so I go into some of those details in there, and some of it's if we go in and we can walk through it. A lot of the first ones were very hands-on as well as a lot of theory behind it, but Linux is for everyone. I think that was one of the headers at the top, and then we start just looking at, well, what is the commands and things like that. And my hope there is that Linux shouldn't seem like overwhelming. Like, we should just be able to get access to a Linux box, Linux kernel, Linux command line, but we should also be able to navigate our way around this and be able to use it. So we touch on a lot of the the common commands that we see within Linux, and then we get into a little bit more deeper around, okay, let's make something happen in there. So commands are one thing, but actually like putting together shell scripts, bash scripts, etc., being able to actually do something is a key there.
Yeah, so I'm looking through this list of commands here, Cade, and I can tell you this is really, at least on this list, this is definitely some of the most common, the top fundamental commands in Linux that, this is a true story, Cade. My very first job in IT was a Unix firewall admin, all CLI. Okay, so a lot of this came back to me because I've started doing over in the Veeam hardened repository. I've had to kind of dust off a lot of those Linux skills, and you're pretty much point on with a lot of these commands here. So yeah, good shout on those Linux, commands. And one of the things I've always loved about when you do these Kubernetes and cast and stuff, the cloud native stuff, and I don't know if you cover it here, but I love your Terminator, right? Do you talk about that in any of the
actually
content?
Day 20, that dev workstation setup, this is the only one where I kind of cheated because I just hit record and recorded a video. So I used Terminator as my terminal emulator, but actually the prettiness that I think Rick's referring to is actually a theme called Dracula. So we take a bog standard Ubuntu, and I've been rolling an Ubuntu laptop as well as soon as I dived into this world, living and breathing the world of Linux, because a lot of cloud native is Linux based, and at least started there and progressed on. So this is me walking through how to create and what I'm using to create that terminal, the prettiness that Rick mentioned, using GNOME extensions, etc. And basically there's this walkthrough, but then there's the video right at the top, Rick, is literally me walking through and saying how to get to this this pretty, because it's obviously all about the pretty terminal. That's what gives you +10 when it comes to Linux skills.
Well, I'll flip it around. I'm a little bit colorblind, believe it or not. A lot of people don't know that. I have trouble distinguishing. Well, I mean, I can tell you everything behind me is green, but I have trouble like with some of the darker colors, the browns to the reds, the blues to the blacks. I mean, you should see what I do with socks and shoes sometimes. It's horrible, mate. But anyways, I love the contrast and I love these ways to manipulate this. I mean, you can do it in putty, but it's just painful sometimes. But no, I've always admired that because I can personally see that really well. So I think that's kind of cool. So that's a good one. Okay. So let's see. Let's pick another one here. What's another kind of section that kind of sticks out as one that, you felt good about and had some good traction with?
So networking was interesting. So I come from an operations point of view. So networking's a fundamental, but the amount of people that you speak to where DNS and DHCP are just not in their vocabulary at all, I felt like I need to cover that. Where that got a little bit interesting is around the automation of the network. So I think you'd see this as like net DevOps or NetOps as well around there. So there's obviously a new name for everything here. But really, it's about automating the configuration in your network devices and making sure that you've got access to that. We've all seen, especially in the VMware world, we've all seen software-defined networking take off massively. So things like NSX. Well, we can automate that. We should be automating that. We should have some sort of declarative way of being able to deploy a configuration across our environment using some sort of state management and be able to deploy that in 100 different sites if we need it, or even just like be able to automate that process and management of those networks. So that was kind of one. And then I think it's fair to say, I don't know if you want to go into the networking one a bit more as well there, Rick.
Well, I got a question. Is DevBot real or is DevBot a bot? Is this another expert? Because networking in this space, like you said, who else are the experts besides you? So I'm just being cheeky now.
No, so this then gets to another section later on around CI/CD about, well, how can I, like, when I do something in this repository, I might want it to do something, as in, so I have 2 GitHub actions as part of this. In fact, if you scroll up, Rick, and this is kind of jumping ahead to that CI/CD, but it's relevant because you brought it up. If you go right up to the top tab on the, you need to go, if you go back to the home page of the whole project.
Oh, out of the README. That's it.
Yeah, there's good. But you've got that actions tab up right at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So you got code, yeah, exactly, in there.
Yeah.
And this is using GitHub Actions. And I have 2 things that I'm doing in here. One is published to another platform called dev.to, because there's a lot of developers and DevOps focused engineers over there. So I wanted to make sure that we had some sort of visibility over there. But then also, whenever a new update happens in this repository, send a tweet. And there's an automated bot that's basically sending a tweet out.
That's rather awesome, mate. That's pretty cool. Yeah, see, I'm learning stuff. I mean, this is new to me, and I think that everyone can learn from this. I mean, you're going next level in so many different levels, which is really cool. Just got a word from the producers that the application is ready for an update. We got some new locations, so let's start. We've got Massachusetts and New York State are here, so welcome y'all. And then we also have added Argentina and South America. Great, thank you. In addition to Brazil and Colombia, and let's go over to Africa. We've added Nigeria and Algeria, and welcome to both of you. And then we also have a couple more that are coming in. But yeah, thank you so much for letting us know where we are all joining from. Good stuff. All right. So, Michael, what's been your biggest challenge? Not necessarily with the 90 Days of DevOps project, but if we think about some of those different areas, networking sounds like it's a tricky one, right? That's not an area I put a lot of recent effort into. It's all just like done for me, right? But which of the areas was probably the trappiest, the trickiest of them all for you?
So Yeah, that's a bit low. Well, I can make it loaded in that.
Okay, pick one.
So I had no idea so I had the section titles. If you remember, I said about I had the blog post, I had the 12 things that I was going to cover, and then slam on another one that's going to give me the overarching view of DevOps and process and principles. Then we went through each one, but I literally from day to day really didn't know what the titles of the next day was going to be. So that was a big challenge. Not only are we looking at 12 different technology topics, which should give you an idea. And there is so much. Like I could do another 90 days. In fact, that might be the plan. But I'll probably rope in some
90 more days.
Yeah, but I'll probably rope in some people to help write some of that stuff, because we could easily cover 7 days on virtualization. Like a lot of the listeners and a lot of the viewers will be able to talk about the VMware and virtualization platforms. So that was the first pain point, but I actually quite enjoyed it because I'm kind of that content creator. Is what are we going to learn today? And every day is a school day, right? So we're gonna learn something different. But to dart from here to there to everywhere, that's kind of it's what we do. No day's the same at Veeam, right? So this was good for me, and only keep them at 7 days. So trying to fit in all of that information, like we're talking about like Linux, which is however old, like I can't even remember the age of Linux.
Yeah.
What's that?
Older than us.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe not.
But and I covered that in 7 days, and I only did it at a foundational level. But then we've got Git, which some people are like, "Oh, how are you gonna spend 7 days on Git, but you're only gonna spend 7 days on Kubernetes?" And it is completely disproportioned. Easy for me to say.
Yeah, take it up with the Queen.
Yeah, but the whole point is that we need to cut. Like there are other projects out there, and hats off to anyone that's done 100 days of code, 100 days of Kubernetes, 100 days of XYZ. 100 days of Kubernetes for me, or 100 days of cloud. Like I've tried that. Like there's too much for me. Just learn in a different way. I need that. I need the difference. I need to be able to know that I've only got 7 days of this topic and then move on. But
yeah, it works out great, mate, because aside from this first section here, right, 1 through 6, right, all of them count in 7 days. So it's like a week, a week. So I will say what you've done here is broken down to that proportionate level. You've broken down to the most, topical outline from your point of view. I mean, you're not an industry analyst. You're a practitioner of sorts, learning this and sharing your journey in this form. I do think 90 more days would be good, but hey, we'll see.
I have to get a new logo then, though.
There you go. Or just make it bold. That's a trick you can do.
90
so that's
plus.
Cool. That's cool. So yeah, cool. Anything you want to kind of close out with before we kind of go to the next segment of the show on maybe one more area to look at, somewhere down deep and towards the end?
Well, maybe the one that I left until last is that DevOps still needs to think about how we store and protect data. And to be honest, if you look through this, if you're a virtualization admin or a backup admin today, I think my key takeaway here is that you'll have a similarity with some of these areas. Maybe not with the platform that I'm talking about in the section, but maybe it is with virtualization, or maybe it is with backup. But fundamentally, we still require disaster recovery. We still require mobility of data. We still require application consistency. Databases live all over the place, whether it's in Kubernetes, whether it's virtual machines, whether it's physical. So I think my key thing, and it looked pretty, the mountain was pretty high when we started 90 days, right? I'm going to write 100. I ended up writing 110,000 words here, like ridiculous amounts of content. But the fundamental is that it looks very daunting as you're looking at you're at base camp and you're trying to get up to the summit, and it is. There's a lot to learn, right? You could spend 100 days on each one of these topics, but you've got to start somewhere. You have to get that foundational knowledge to start getting up the mountain. And that's really the premise of for this was exactly that, was to try and just like, let's set a base layer, is that like DevOps people aren't just spawning out of the ground. Like, it's probably going to be us.
Well,
like, it's probably
I don't know.
Be the operations team.
You got 11.4 people. I think it was 11.2, like just an hour ago. Just saying.
It must be all the audience on here, Rick.
Oh yeah, we've taken it to the next level. So yeah. So well put, Michael. Well put. So really good resource here. And let me just I guess zoom in here so everyone can see. It's GitHub. It's Michael Cade. And you won't be able to miss the 90 Days of DevOps project that he's put up there. I don't know, is project the right word, or
repository? Project. And my final thing on this is that, I've done a lot of it, but it's amazing when you look at the pull requests and the people that over on the right hand side of the repository, you'll see all the contributors. And I think we're at, like, if you go down a touch, Rick, like, to have, I think it's close to 32 people, or around 30 people, because there's an automated bot in there that has been created. But you can see that there are people actually contributing to this as an open source project. And maybe it is just a simple spelling mistake, but it's someone helping the project grow. And then the biggest thing, and this like completely blew my mind, was around translation. So it's being translated into Chinese. You might have seen that on the opening README. Someone's coming in, or a group of people are coming in, and they're translating it into Chinese and simplified Chinese. That just blows my mind. In that,
Leslie,
how is that?
It was Leslie, right? This one.
Yeah.
So like, I'll give her a follow for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. She's
Outstanding, great stuff. Hey, so as we wrap up the show, a couple things. A late welcome to Thailand, who's tuned in to the show. Monday, the Industry Insights show, Dave and Jason are going to dissect some of the latest market research, market data in the industry insights, sharing some good news on some of the latest data there. Friday, a week from today, excuse me, Corinne and Vlad Katrinescu, I can't pronounce, maybe I messed that up, Vlad. Corinne on our team and Vlad, they're both really focused on that Microsoft 365 space. They're going to give a preview to an upcoming M365 focused event, so you don't want to miss that. And Michael, what's this thing that's like 15 business days away? What's coming up?
Don't say that. Someone said about it being 10 working days.
Yeah.
Like, every day's a working day up until VMon. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, VMon is right around the corner. So just go on over to vmon.com. One of the things we'll highlight is that the virtual experience for that is completely free. So there's a lot of on-demand stuff. Now, Cade, you've got some demo uncut type stuff. We've got some stuff at the event focused on this. So it's going to be a great event. It's a lot of work, but we'll get there. So, all right. Well, on behalf of our producers in the ATL and in Romania, and then Michael, hey, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thanks for having me, boss.
Well, I did kind of say, hey, come on over to the show. Yeah. But no, big thanks, Michael. Outstanding project here. Great work. Keep it up. And then thank you all for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on probably see me in 2 weeks on the next Tech Bites. But have a great weekend, everyone.